what's up? It's Angus Clark. Welcome to Technique Tuesday, where I discuss some element of technique and how to improve on it. Today, we're talking about playing arpeggios. Arpeggios, 3 different ones. And we're going to look at this little piece that I wrote that's kind of based on the progression from Burn by Deep Purple featuring Ritchie Blackmore. I'm going to look at the technique that Ritchie uses, which is kind of a cross-picking, alternate picking across 3 strings. We're also going to look at more the technique that Adrian Smith and Dave Murray of Iron Maiden use, which is a little 2-string arpeggio. And then we're going to look at some 5-string sweep shapes, which is kind of the fundamental sweep shape that we all got from Yngwie and Paul Gilbert and those guys when they first started doing it. So 3 different techniques: cross-picking, little 2-string pull-off technique, and then sweep picking. And each one has its frailties, its foibles, its ways that it can trip you up. We're going to look at how to overcome some of that. Today I'm playing my Grosh Strat. This is an awesome guitar built by Don Grosh in Denver, or just outside Denver. And he's an awesome builder. This is an amazing guitar. It's an ash body with kind of a see-through Fiesta red finish, Gary Moore inspired. And then my Blackmore is showing with the black covered pickups. Today I'm using my Fractal AXE-FX III. I've got it on kind of a clean Marshall setting. Very neutral Marshall setting. And then I'm adding everything from my pedal board. This is the board I built for my Dio tribute. So I've got some reverb on it right now, which is the Evermore by UA. And the grit is coming from the LPD-87. LPD-87, great sounding pedal. And for the solo, I had it on the red mode with the Tumnus. And the delay. But for demonstration purposes, let's back it off to the green setting. So I got a little gain. I may add some during the lesson. All right, so let's check it out. First up, we've got the progression. You know, if you're going to play arpeggios over a progression, you got to know the chords, right? But this is not Theory Thursday. This is Technique Tuesday. So I'm just going to run over this really quickly, and then if you come in on a Thursday for Theory Thursday, we can talk about chords and that stuff. And we're just using Triad arpeggios. Triad arpeggios just have 3 notes: the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. And there are 3 types that we're using. There's major, minor, and diminished. There's also augmented, but we're not using those today. The progression is A minor, D minor, G, C, F, B diminished, E, and then back to A. The first part of the solo, I'm doing it in a very Blackmore inspired way. And in this case, I'm using just these classic 3-string closed voicing triad shapes on the top 3 strings. And if you don't know those, this is a great opportunity to get them under your fingers. So first chord is A minor. I'm going to do it right here. I've got A, C, E, right? 14, 13, 10. Okay. Next up is D minor. The notes are D, F, and A, and I've got that in an inversion with the A on the bottom. So I've got A on the 14th fret, D on the 15th fret, and F on the 13th fret. So there's the first 2 chords. Okay, and then G to C. So I'm going to go down here for my G chord. And this is a classic one. We've got G here on the 12th fret, B on the 12th fret, and D on the 10th fret. And then goes to C, which is G here on the 12th fret, C on the 13th fret, and E on the 12th fret. So the first 2. Then we have the F chord, which is a F here, an A, and a C. So that's a 10, 10, 8. And then I have the B diminished, which, don't be scared. It's a B, D, and an F. And I've got the F here on the 10th fret, the B on the 12th fret, and the D on the 10th fret. Okay, and then what's next? So we've done E. So when I get to the E, what did I do? Oh, I went down to the next string set. I went to the 2, 3, 4. And that's really because that's kind of what Blackmore does on Burns. But here I just did some inversions off of this. I went. So that's just right across the 9th fret. Then 14, 13, 12. And then 13, 12, 12. If you want to do some triad exercises. How am I navigating the picking on this? Well, the pattern that Blackmore plays in Burn is, and I don't know how he picks it, but how I pick it is I always start with a down on the top string. So it's just down, up, down, and then I'm using that angle to release. Okay, so that's the whole thing. One thing you may have noticed or may not, and let's push in here. Bring it in, bring it in. We've got, when I get here to the C, I am facilitating getting the staccato nature that Blackmore likes to get by, instead of playing the C chord like this, where I would have to, I play the top string with my first finger. So this way, in terms of synchronizing my hands, see how I'm only pressing the string when I'm picking it. I'm not doing this. It's. So this is the Technique Tuesday right here, is how do I get this separation? How do I keep them from ringing over each other? Well, one of the things I'm doing is I'm changing the fingering in my left hand to facilitate it. So as this is moving quickly, it's always 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 3, 2. That's 1, 3, 2. I'm talking about my fingers now. First finger, third finger, second finger. That's a 1, 3, 2. Thanks to this genius fingering over here. And then here, right? You may feel jammed up about it, but believe me, in the heat of battle, like, this will do you some good. So we've got. Okay, and that's how I'm getting through it. So this one, so here, that's precision rolling. That's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. So push it in, bring it in. You see what I'm saying? Precision rolling. And that's just something to practice. I mean, just practice it. But it'll do you good right here. To round out the Blackmore part, as I could obviously wax poetic about it for a century, there's a lot to take from there. Fingering, hand synchronization, staccato, first finger rolling. There's a lot. All right, next up, we're looking at the more Iron Maiden-inspired version of playing arpeggios. Although, didn't Iommi do this in the NIB solo? So I'm going to give him credit, although I'm sure Eric Clapton did it somewhere too, but let's go with Iommi. So what we're doing here is 2-string pull-off shapes, top 2 strings, and we're starting with the A minor. We're finding the A at the 10th fret on the B string, and then we're finding the C here on the 8th fret on the top string, and the E up here on the 12th fret. And we're just doing a pull-off, pick. We pick, pull off, and pick. In triplets. Triplets. And what to keep in mind about this. I typically pick up on the top string and down on the 2nd string. Comme ça. So let's go through the shapes. A minor, D minor, start on the F on the 13th fret, pulling off to the 10th fret, and then the A on the 10th fret. So then the D minor. Then we move to the G chord, and we're starting here on the D on the 10th fret, pulling off to the B, and then playing the G on the 8th fret, 2nd string. And then the C chord is here, E on the top string, 12th fret, C on the 8th fret, top string, and then the G on the 8th fret, 2nd string. And here, first finger rolling, right? Because we don't want... Like, that's the kind of thing that gets sloppy, so... Okay? So that's the G to C, and then the F is starting with the C on the 8th fret, and then the A on the 5th fret, and then the F on the 6th fret, 2nd string. Now, B diminished. Not a lot of people play B diminished, but we are for this exercise, so let's do it. Right? And there, I think I'm guilty of letting those 2 notes ring over each other. So you can get away with some muting on your right hand to make it sound less ringy. Right? And then we get to the E, which is here. Right? 7, 4, 5. And then I do inversions. So I play here. Next inversion starts on the E on the 12th fret, down to the B. And then the 3rd inversion is here, starting on the G sharp. So. Okay. So if we're playing these triplets, I'm going to slow it down a little bit, but let's look at where the frailties are, like where are the things we're going to need to clean up in order for it to be smooth when we get it faster. Okay, so I noticed a couple of things. I didn't keep this wasn't super clean with my first finger rolling. Right? So that's something to really pay attention to. This one is hard to keep it from ringing. So that's why I'm muting that one, because if you just leave it open, you know, otherwise you have to get really good at removing this finger. So that's when you need to slow it down and really... Those are the things to look out for with the Iron Maiden style. Next up is the sweeps. Jumping in to ask you to please click like and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm bring this content to you more regularly. Come check me out on AngusClarkGTR.com. Let's get back to the video. Let's get into it. A minor. We've got the classic 5-string sweep based off of this shape. And what we do is we play 12 here, hammer, and then you roll your third finger across the 14th fret, then second finger, pull off. Okay, and I try to make sure I'm always nailing that last one. What's cool about this is that it's in time. You know, it's really triplets. Let's see what the pattern is. So what's cool about it is that I'm changing the chord for the second time down. So you have A minor down and up, and then you have to go down D minor. So and there's the D minor is from the bottom. It's A, D, F, A, D, F, A. That's hefty. That's a hefty thing. Then next we go from the G to C, or C. So the G is pinky on 15, pull off to the D, then second finger rolling across 2, 3, 4. Second finger rolling. We already did first finger rolling. Now we're doing second finger rolling. Oh my God. And then, okay, so. And then back up that, right? And then down the C. So the C is 15, 12, 13, 12, 14, 15. Okay, so. Right? Like that. Now it gets tricky because we got the F and the B diminished. That's a tricky one, right? And last up, E. Okay, so here I reverse it, right? I go. So that's just two inversions of E. So we have this one and this one. So that's from 7, 11, second finger rolling across 9, 7, 12. And that's that cool Yngwie thing where you're switching onto the note. Just occurred to me that is important in all of these is targeting on position shifts. And really, I credit my initial building of that technique was in studying classical guitar. Like, because, you know, the position shifting has to be super smooth. And that's something that, you know, Yngwie does incredibly well. And it's all about like getting a zero time in that position shift. And, you know, you see it here, the targeting that's involved here. That. You know, that's targeting. You just have to see your pinky where you want it to be. And the same thing with the sweep. You have to see your first finger being where you want it to be. So that's really important. And another thing that I just want to mention overall in looking at all of this is that you have to use your ears the whole time to inform what's working and what's not working in your technique. Like, when does it sound better? When does it sound smoother? And if you're really up against a wall on something not sounding smooth, you may need to look at the mechanics you're employing and go about it a different way. Thanks for coming to Technique Tuesday. Thank you for checking this out. A lot of good information here. What do we have? Position shifting. We had some picking choice stuff. We learned a little bit arpeggios, but come to Theory Thursday if you want to learn more about triads and that kind of thing. And I'm Angus Clark. If you're new here, I play guitar for Trans-Siberian Orchestra, Cher, Kitaro, a bunch of great folks, and I'm based in New Jersey. And I'm building out my YouTube channel, and I have a course available at angusclarkgtr.com. It's called 30 Surefire Rock Licks, where we do a lot of this. We learn some licks, and then we pull lessons out of it that inform our fundamentals and our chops. And it's just a great way of building your vocabulary on the instrument. So, thank you. Take care. Be kind. Be well. I'll see you again soon.